Hey, this is Brian from Super Easy Toots, and in this tutorial we are going to cover rules of precedence, which are similar to algebra, basically the order of operations. And basically I've created a little word problem here where I've assigned some values and then we're going to find some averages to show you the rules of precedence. So basically our main girl, Paris Hilton, on one given day spends $800 on makeup, $650 on a new hairstyle, $422.54 on lunch, and $1922.45 for drinks at the club. First problem is, what was her spending average on the hair and makeup? What was her spending average on food and beverages? And what was her spending average on the 4 items for the day? So basically I've created 4 variables here, 2 integer variables, 2 float variables, being integer variables being makeup and hair. Assign those values from the problem above, and the same thing for the 2 float values of lunch and drinks. So first we want to find the spending average on hair and makeup. I did this the incorrect way first to kind of show you, and basically what I've done here is created an integer variable and named it hair underscore makeup and set it equal to hair plus makeup divided by 2, which is how we want the problem to go. The only thing is in the order of operations, it's going to do the division portion first. So what it's going to do is it's going to take this makeup value of 800 and divide it by 2 to get 400, and then add it to the hair, because division comes first in the order of operations. So we're going to have this 400 plus the 650. You're going to see when I see out this variable, it's going to show 1050. So we debug and run, and we have the 1050. So now, to do this the proper way, I've created another variable called hair underscore and underscore makeup. It's an integer variable, and I've put this in parentheses. And what that's going to do is the compiler is going to do this portion first. It's going to add the hair and makeup, the 800 and the 650, and then divide it by 2, which is what we're really looking for here. And then I've outputted that integer variable here. So we'll debug and run it. And sure enough, there's our 725. That's our true value that we're actually looking for. So now we can find out the average that Miss Hilton spent on food and beverages. So basically I've created a float variable and named it food beverage, and set that equal, and I did it the proper way this time by putting those parentheses around the 2 items that we're adding together, so it does that operation first and then divide by 2. And since it's a float value, we're going to see some decimals in here when we run this. We're going to see a decimal value, I'm sorry. So 1172.49. And that's what we're looking for in this instance, is to get the average, so everything is done properly here. Now we're going to look at the spending average on the 4 items on the day. And basically the first way I did this is I made it an integer value. I created an integer variable and named it total average. And I did it the proper way here, putting the parentheses in and adding these 4 items together, and then dividing it by 4 because that's the quantity of items to get the average, and then outputted that total average. So we debug and run it. And we see the value is 948, but there's no decimal and there's no following digits after the decimal here because it's an integer value. So now on the next couple of lines of text, I created a float. I set it equal to, I named a float variable total average, and made it equal to these 4 items divided by 4, and then I outed that total average. Now this is going to come up with a compile error. I wanted to show you cannot, just a refresher, you cannot have 2 variable names having two different data types. So we have total average here and we have total average here. So we're going to get a compile error when we go through and do this. Sure enough, there's our compile error, and it says conflicting declaration float total average. Total average has a previous declaration as an int total average, so an unsuccessful build. So to get out of this, I'm just going to put another character in here and make sure I do it on both the float variable declaration as well as the cout statement. And now it's going to run properly, and we're going to get our average with a decimal point and new numbers following that decimal point. Sure enough, here's our 948.747, which carries the decimal. The integer value that we assigned prior to this float value is in there. And that's basically the order of operations. Just keep in mind that it's very similar to the rules of algebra, where division and multiplication is going to be done first, and then addition is going to be done second.